Greetings to you, my fellow royals of Alubera and Cariani, which is the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So, I have been speaking about many things so far, even about our indigenous jurisdiction, as well as mentioning about sovereignty, and also the system that I have introduced, which is Trinitarian order, as my answer and solution to what is the way moving ahead in every present as a government and political style system to take us out of the shackles of democracy as we are the republic of our nation. All right, as I mentioned yesterday about democratic capitalist as well as democratic socialist approach, which has been the systems utilized to govern and manage the affairs of our nation, as well as it is also through these loops of these systems that it is also the political influence of what occurs moving ahead, and it is used as a way or means to allow people, or people as a matter of fact, to feel some bit of certainty or a bit of trust maybe, or even distrust whilst using these approaches, So what I understood is that, yes, we have been utilizing democracy for many years, yet what we are is a republic. And the republic is where it protects the jurisdiction and truth of the people as sovereign beings. So there is this loop where the other side of the fence creates more of an enslavement, and the other part of that is where we have the liberation and freedom. So in this essence, I have mentioned that, well, I'm not sure if any one of you all know about the Monroe Doctrine. So Monroe Doctrine was introduced on December the 2nd, 1828. This is done by James Monroe, former president of the United States. Now, I'm just only mentioning this. Reason for mentioning this is because of how pivotal it has been with the challenging the whole status quo, challenging what one may see as a redundant era of recycled traumas that has been taking us or clasping us down into decades of enslavement. So we have to break ourselves free from that. So the James Monroe Doctrine more or less speaks on the westernized colonizing on the lands when it comes to the influence and governance and justice, respectfully, so it is to the removal of what we have as a westernized concept of governance that has been imperializing and also colonizing whatsoever we are able to grow into. And I have mentioned as well where colonization speaks on the establishment of a colony in another land that is foreign to the beings who are colonizing, as well as the imperialism is where one country seeks to take over another country by force or coercion. Okay, so even when I mention the word imperial, it only speaks about my royal essence, my royal grace, through my lineage of royal parents, my royal mothers of the motherland. And persons who are aware of me, they would know that I have also been, once they know my ancestry, let's say my grandmother, they would also know that she's a very powerful healer. She has been able to do many of these things as healing, even feeding the nation and the people throughout North, Central, and South America, as well as even Africa, more or less. So if anybody who knows of Mamalu, they would know that she's a person who has been light being referring to. She hasn't been any bit of wicked or evil to anyone, and this is the truth. No one could have come around her with that kind of essence and energy grace. She would never allow it either way. Even my great grandmother as well has been one to walk through the streets bare feet, spreading the divine message, and also teaching beings about whatsoever it is that will allow them to take them into a higher grace of consciousness and awareness for their self-healing as well thereof. So even in my movement right now, when I mention certain things, it is in the lineage of me still moving in the motion of what my ancestry has been as powerful healers, as divine messengers, as teachers, and all these things as such. So returning to the whole colonialism and imperialism, it is not anything of the grace of which I am doing, and we in essence, Greece dealing with this right here in Trinidad and Tobago, where whatsoever is being utilized as a system of governance through the political scope has been forming sanctions that colonize us. We've had government ministers, even folks in parliament, who have been operating in many corrupted operations that actually goes against the better security of our nation, the better security of our people. And these, as we go, we get to realize and uncover where through the democratic capitalist loopholes, they have been ripping off the lands of our resources and of our finances. All right, they're ripping off the people of being able to accept and absorb these things. When I say accept and absorb, not just accept, but also receive what is ours in our divine wealth by draining us of our ability to actually rise in justice. So with me introducing Trinitarian order, it is seriously a solution to take us out of these shackles, as well as also reminding us that we are the republic, is to allow us to know that we are the republic of our nation as nationals, as sovereigns in our sovereignty, of our sovereignty, for our sovereignty and such. So in the whole political scope and its formation, all these things are correlated and connected in essence. So I would speak on things like pertaining to what is happening with the finances and these things. However, what I've learned as well too is that these are also the foundation that needs to be set when it is applicable to also comprehend what actually sets the whole paradigm apart from being able to be free and progress in growth, as opposed to continue repeating the traumatic cycles of a system that keeps us down and barely any ability to rise and grow. It becomes like if it's a game, more or less, to the people, because we've had season after season where folks enter into these spaces and yet they still repeat the same cycle of oppression, more or less. So what I know for sure that this present moment is that we have the opportunity to even rise to the occasion with leaders who are able to charter us through this passage of freedom and liberation in our own self-salvation as well. Once we are able to pay attention to the truth, know what is going on otherwise, and align ourselves to this truth, we are able to comprehend and understand what exactly is going on. We need to take control of our energy states. Take control of our energy states, referring to we need to continue dealing with the lands. We need to continue knowing who we are as identity, as a body of people, because without knowing who we are incapable of really doing much of a defense for anything that we seek to defend, more or less. It would always be somewhere where you will hand over your own security, because even though we entrust the government or even politicians to be able to manage the affairs, we ourselves need to be just as responsible and accountable for what occurs otherwise. And I appreciate the truth in being able to also be around beings who are sharing the truth about what is going on, sharing the truth of the backstories pertaining to our resources, pertaining to potential sanctions of being a part of a possible war in the future, things like these that these ministers have been doing as in mischief behind closed doors, and then they paint an image in front of us to make it seem as if, well, we don't have this, we don't have any resources, we have to tighten our belts. All these things has been illusions to us. All these things has been illusions. So now that we are breaking the shackles of enslavement, I encourage us to continue to ask the questions, to look into the issue, and be able to speak on what exactly is occurring. Have no fear of being able to be jeopardized in your jobs and all these things, because in the scope of a republic, as well as in the natural governance, we are the ones who are our self-autonomy and our self-governance. All right? So I do hope you have a wonderful one today. I'm just briefly mentioning a few things, and I'll talk to you a bit later. Love in the house.